hurt you? Like, who hurt you? That's my question here. Like, honestly, like the people in this world, our generation, people take things so personally. Hey guys, it's Ishini. Welcome back to my channel. Happy New Year's, happy 2023. This is your ear, my ear, everyone's ear, and I'm claiming this positivity for you and for me. And guys, 2022 was a roller coaster of self-development, and I learned so much, and I want to be able to share all the self-development that I made throughout my 2022 on here. And we're gonna do that. We're gonna be more consistent. And what we're gonna be talking about today, who hurt you? Who hurt you? That's my question here. Like, honestly, like the people in this world, our generation, people take things so personally, and they not only hurt others but themselves through the process of taking things personally. Guys, you gotta leave that shit. It has to stay back in 2022. If you're on this growth journey, you cannot take things personally. And if you want to feel free and feel peaceful, you can't do it. Because this is what I personally learned about taking things personally, about what others say, about your own thoughts. Because sometimes we take our own thoughts very personally. We can be our own worst enemy sometimes. Been there, done that. I am that person. I've had those dark thoughts, and sometimes I believed it. And you know what? Everyone does the same because we all live in our own world. You know, we create our own world, we have our own thoughts, and sometimes our thoughts we do manifest into reality, and sometimes we have no real way to control our thoughts. That's why I try to speak out my thoughts as much as possible, so I catch the negative ones and I'm able to switch it right then and there. For the people that are hurting, I feel for you, first of all. And I'm here for you, and I understand. I know everyone's been through a lot, okay? Everyone's hurting, everyone has their own traumas, pains, and you can't think no one has gone through it. You can't think, okay, Kim Kardashian's doing great. She's probably never had a hard time in her life. Not true. She went through a sex tape, okay, you guys? She literally went through the world's worst thing. But the people that look the happiest, feel the happiest, they had to learn to stop taking things personally, to be at peace with themselves. And that's the most important thing that you can give to yourself in 2023. And I want you guys to be able to have that for yourselves, because it's a beautiful place to be in. I have anxiety issues. I'm maintaining it. And you know what? Everyone has anxiety, stress. There's good stress, bad stress. Sometimes stress can get overwhelming and create anxiety and unusual amounts of it in this day and age. When you are, doing work, you have dreams, you have goals that you want to meet. It's natural for these things to come up because of the competitive nature of society. As a human, as a growing individual, it's important to learn to manage it. Learn your triggers so you don't end up hurting yourself and the others around you, especially. I've had really bad anxiety issues since I was diagnosed with ADHD, or I've had ADHD since I was a kid. And here's what happened is you have a zillion thoughts going at once that you can't even process information. So me, I had a hard time in school because it was hard for me to process information because I had like 100 thoughts going through my mind. I couldn't process the information that the teacher was teaching me. Having 100 thoughts running through your mind causes anxiety because you can't focus on one thing. You're like, you got this going on, and when those thoughts turn negatively, because I either lived in two worlds, my imagination world or my negative world, when those hundreds of thoughts run through my mind. So I would fantasize about my crush, or like the life I want to be living and all the things I could be doing, but didn't have the motivation to do because I did not know how to manage my thoughts. Or I'd be in my negative state where I would be just bringing in all this self-doubt, disbelief in myself and the world and people, just projecting that outwardly by judging people, by envying people. And honestly, your inner world does shape your outer world a lot. For me, the way that I learned to not take things personally is first knowledge. Knowledge is key. You have to be willing to first learn about yourself. What are your triggers? What do you take personally? Like, what does someone say that like automatically you're like, oh my gosh, did you just say that? Like, if someone says something to hurt you deliberately, and then someone says something and you just take it personally, there's a difference. If someone says like deliberately, like in judgment, it's like, oh, you look terrible. You have to understand that is not a reflection of you. That is a reflection of them and their inner world. Because no one who's truly at peace with themselves will tell you something to hurt you to your face or at all because they're happy with themselves. People who aren't happy with themselves are the only ones who are going to make comments that you would take personally, that would hurt you. And then in the other sense, we can take things personally when have nothing to do about us. Like literally, okay, let me find a really good example. Let's just say someone like a cousin that you never knew died. Okay, and like I know we've all done this, like to skip work or something. It's like, oh my gosh, a cousin died, I gotta take the day off, like that kind of thing. And you like all of a sudden you have to like just fit into that role, like you just take it personally. It's like, oh my gosh, someone died, like what's wrong? Like, is this world a good place to even live in? They're so young, like, and like all the bad things that happen in the world that are not within your control, we can sometimes take personally. I've been there, done that. Whenever I see really bad news, you always see bad news everywhere, and that's why I avoid watching the news, because I'm an empath. So when I take in bad things, it does hurt me. So I've known now to limit my news watching and what kind of information that I process in my mind. Am I giving the needs that I need to myself before I process and take in a certain amount of negative information in order for my better knowledge? About drawing those lines in order to not take things personally. Taking things personally is a choice, okay? It's about programming in your mind, because we are raised when we see our parents taking everything personally. Oh, you didn't pick up that crumb off the floor. How dare you? Am I the maid? Like when we have those kinds of reactions in our life, it's automatic that we take things personally. It can hurt our inner worlds growing as children. We start to become that. We start taking every little microscopic thing personally, and then we blow things up when we're adults when we didn't have to. We self-sabotage. Taking things personally leads to so many bigger issues in our life. But if we can learn to understand it, manage it, anything that happens outside of your own choices, do not take personally. The only thing you should take personally is yourself and the choices you make for you. But then again, don't be unforgiving towards yourself, okay? This does not mean beat yourself up. This means be compassionate towards yourself, but you should take your goals personally, your growth personally, but don't take other people's words and judgments and whatever personally, or what happens in their life personally. They're in their own world and you are in yours. Focus on yours. Don't focus on what happens on the outer world. You have to focus on you. If you're consuming things that aren't making you happy, you should take that personally. You should do something about it. I did something about it. I stopped consuming it, because it can really wear or tear your growth. It can stunt it. And we don't want that to happen. People who take things personally, they just hurt others. Not only are they hurting themselves, they just outwardly hurt others. Without a knife, they'll say things that they don't even mean. Just because they've been consuming all this like bad stuff and they're projecting their inner world. It's not healthy, it's not the best, and it's gonna do more harm than better. Y'all gotta stop hurting. Being the victim, having the victim mindset is a huge part of it. A lot of us feel like we're a victim to this world, its circumstances. We weren't given this, we weren't given that. I've been through this, I've been through that. But it's time to forgive yourself and move forward from that. And don't take your past personally. You have to forgive yourself. You have to forgive others. Not for just like anything. It's because you want to grow as an individual. And you need to want that for yourself. No one else can make you do that for you except you. There's a book called The Four Agreements, and in one of their agreements is don't take things personally. It's one of the laws. It can make or break your world and the world around us that is already breaking as it is. And everyone taking everything personally about everything in their outer world, and it will shape your inner world. This is the only way that you will stop hurting. So you gotta learn. And also another thing that helped me understand to not take things personally is I just imagine that I'm this tiny atom on this big world, in this big universe, just floating. I'm just an atom. I just pretend I'm an atom. So like, who am I to like think my problems or like any other problem is like bigger than what is out there, than what is created? Like, if you have a hard time letting things go and not taking things personally, just think, I'm on a floating rock. I'm on a floating rock. Like, literally, I'm on a floating rock. How dare you take things personally? Like, life is so short. If you compare like how small you are to how big this whole, whatever you call life is, it'll be much easier to not take things personally, because you know that, you know what, it's a huge world, and like this huge world is probably revolving in someone else's world in some sort of, I don't know, I have like this huge like imagination. But yeah, so this is just me speaking and letting you know, guys. So don't take things personally. This is the only way that you'll stop hurting, is understanding also the world does not revolve around you, okay? The whole world does not revolve around you, but you revolve around your own world, or the world, like your own world, okay? So you cannot think that other people are thinking about your world, you know? The only person who cares about your world is you. And you are responsible for it, to nurture it, to actually give it what it needs to grow. You do not want to become stagnant in pain and hurting and being the victim by taking things personally for the rest of your life, because that's not your purpose in this life. And I believe that. But yeah, this is what I have for today. I hope it resonated with you. And I love you guys. And I hope this helps you. And yeah, on the next talk.